Andy, thank you for joining me. I think this is our first Thriving Family special Q&A or chat.
I
What do we
think it
call
is.
this?
I think you and I have been talking about doing this for 2 years, probably. I think we actually
Yes.
had a couple scheduled, and then we're like, we'll get to that someday. And I think someday has come, and it's very makes a lot of sense to do it right now.
Yes, yes. And with the circumstances, it's like even more of a challenge. I don't know about you, but my kids are upstairs
Absolutely. Well,
enjoying their lunch
mine
break.
are right outside the door here. So if you hear a little bit of action, that's our family trying to figure out this whole school thing.
Yes, yes. And seeing a little technical difficulty
There you
there,
go.
but that is kind of what we're all doing right now is figuring out what the circumstances that change so quickly. How do we not only survive but thrive as families, which is our group name, but importantly is how do we financially prepare? And I'm not an expert in terms of how this is going to go, but you've probably seen they've kind of indicated that this could be a few months at the very least.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I mean, for us, our
mhm,
school system originally it was, hey, we're going to be off for 3 weeks, and then we got
mhm,
spring break coming up, and I don't know all of the news we've been hearing, whether it's our
mhm,
friends in California
mhm.
or some other folks locally here. That's at least 3 months, if not more. So we're trying to figure out how the new normal will come.
Yes, yes. And the important thing is like how do you prepare? And at the same time, how do you make sure that you don't give in to kind of fear? Because there's a lot of questions going on.
Absolutely, and yes, there's a great opportunity for people to be extremely fearful. It makes sense,
Hmm.
this is unprecedented. People don't know what's going on, but I think if we can stick to our things that we know
Hmm.
are important to do right now, and just go, it's like what is the next right thing to do? What is the next right
Yes.
thing to do, as opposed to trying to think of how do I solve all of these problems. I think you and I have talked about that, especially for our community.
Yes, and I think it does go back to the foundation. So we're having this chat as you guys are watching this. The goal of this is to make sure how do we reprioritize, how do we reorganize and shift things just like we're doing right now with our home routines and our schedules. How do we shift things with our finances to kind of ride out these tough times?
Yeah.
So I had just recently asked within the community for a couple money, what are your concerns? And I got one particular email that I think really summed up a lot of concerns families are having, which is like, how do we prioritize what bills to pay, what goals to pursue when so many things are up in the air? So I'll just read that, Andy. Maybe we can talk it out
Sounds good.
and
Yeah.
go through the process. So this is from Kelly. Kelly, thank you for sending this in. She was asking, what do I do about my credit cards? I work for the schools and I might not have a job to return to. There's so many different questions going on. And right now, everything is in my name and we're living paycheck to paycheck. So our buffer in savings is on the tighter side. So I think this is a situation many families are dealing with where depending on the industry you're in, you don't know if your hours are going to be cut or if there's going to be enough runway
Yeah.
to take
Well,
care of the essentials. So why don't we kind of dive into that?
yeah, let's start
Yeah.
with the credit card side of things, and then maybe we
Hmm.
can talk about budgeting and savings and things like that. So for the credit cards, I know you
Hmm.
posted this in our community. I think it
Hmm.
was just yesterday, about the credit card companies realizing what's coming or what's happening right now
Yes.
and getting ahead of it. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what that is.
So I don't want to call it good news, but something as a
It's news.
relief. Yes, it's news. Something
Right.
as a relief. It seems like this time around with the crisis, people are realizing that this is going to be a long-term thing. So companies, including credit card companies, are offering different kind of hardship relief programs. I notice in particular Apple Pay and Barclays, for example, are telling their customers they're being proactive in email. So check your emails that you can skip your March payment and not have any penalties for that. And that can be a solution, especially if you don't have, and we'll get into this later, a financial cushion. So
Hmm.
any kind of relief that you can get now, we'll probably talk about this a little bit more, but emphasize, take advantage of it now, use it to your family's benefit. And this is absolutely critical. So I am happy that credit cards are stepping up. I've heard also that a lot of them are waiving fees, late fees, if you have to kind of extend payments because the paycheck as you switch over, unfortunately, some families in our group work in the service industry. And so they're going to be relying on unemployment temporarily, at least, hopefully temporarily, So until that makes that transition, take advantage of the program. Be proactive, call your credit card companies, and also call your financial institutions because many of them also are offering breaks.
Yeah, and in
Mm,
addition to it, let's say
mhm,
maybe they're not waiving fees, or even if
mhm,
they are, try to figure out a way. I know you can do this too, is to
mhm,
call them, tell them about your situation, and then talk about reducing your interest rate to begin with. That could really help
mhm,
you too. If you're at a higher interest rate and this is a really hard time for you and your family, maybe this is an opportunity for you to, decrease how much you're actually paying towards those credit card companies. To your point on,
mhm.
other
Yeah.
financial institutions doing this too. I got an email from Ally today. I'm a customer of theirs, and I don't have a mortgage with them, and I don't
Mhm,
have some of their other products, but it sounds as if they're waiving some fees as well, specifically to late payments,
mhm.
overdraft fees, things like that that
Yes.
might happen during this time. So a lot of them are getting proactive. So to Elle's point, contact your financial institutions, your credit card companies, find out what they are doing to help you during this situation so that you can still be a customer of theirs and
Mhm.
everybody can still survive and thrive. So,
Yeah, absolutely important. And in terms of housing, great point with the mortgage lenders.
hmm,
There is talk. I haven't seen anything official. If I see anything, I will post it in the Facebook group. But some of them are talking about maybe giving a delay, making payments for up to 90 days. We'll see
yeah,
if that happens. I will definitely notify you. But I just saw that HUD, Department of Housing, if you are renting, they are not going to do any evictions. And some of them are talking about extending payments for rent and working out some kind of arrangement.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Anything you can get right
Hmm.
now for relief, stay on top of the news, and we'll do our best to keep
Hmm.
updating on what we know. But again, it's all coming so fast that
Yes.
these are opportunities, but they're
Hmm.
also a great way for you guys to find some relief right now.
Yes. And kind of let's talk about prioritizing. I
Yeah,
know credit cards are a stress, one because of the interest rate, but two, they have a tendency in the industry to kind of hound you if you're not making payments. But for families, I think going again back to the fundamentals, the first thing you have to make sure that you have money for are the essentials: your housing, your utilities, your food, and some form of transportation. Hopefully things will subside or something will happen that if you need to like go to the grocery store, if you need to go to work, you have transportation. So make sure you have that. If you
yeah.
cannot afford that, credit cards are the least of your concerns in that scenario. You got to take care of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't want to tell you to never pay your credit cards again, but
Yeah.
man, we want to make sure you have some money in the bank right now. This is an emergency. This is the
Hmm.
emergency
Yes.
for the emergency fund. So while it's great to pay off debt and reduce your balances and things like that, take advantage of those opportunities with credit card companies to, you know, erase those fees for the
Hmm.
time being, and then focus up on just shoring up some money for you and your family because we don't know how long it's going to last, and
Hmm.
nobody can predict what's going on right now.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, guys. If you've listened to Andy or I on our podcast, like we are usually the ones that say, "Pay down that debt,
Right,
get rid
right.
of the debt." Andy is completely debt free, and we are working on paying our mortgage. That's our last debt. So when we're telling you, let's put a pause on that.
Yeah.
If you can, of course, make the minimums and take care of the essentials. Great.
Mhm.
But your goal right now, if you don't have it already, should be focusing on that financial cushion.
Right.
Yeah.
And Al, what I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
normally, I don't know what you say with couple
Mhm.
money and everything like that, but I always felt really good with 3 months of expenses with this situation. I don't know if people want to keep beefing that up to 6 or 9 months. I don't know what the right number is right now. It's something that people, I guess, have to ask themselves internally. But
Mhm.
if you're in a situation where, like as Kelly's saying, she
Mhm.
feels like her job is, in a tough spot, think about how long you might be out of work before you can actually earn an income. And I know that's tough to predict right now,
Yeah.
but you want to feel more comfortable than less comfortable right now. So, I mean, yeah, this is one of those spots where you pause on the aggressive debt payments.
Mhm.
And any of the folks that are paying off their mortgage right now are working
I
on that.
know.
That's very very low on the priority scale if you don't have a good emergency fund, or I guess generally in other debt payments too. You want to make sure that you're feeling really good with some cash right now.
Yes, definitely. And I know between my husband and I, he's the more conservative one. So in this case, I will defer to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
That's what Nicole said to me this morning. She goes,
yeah.
just to be clear, Andy, I don't want you to touch the emergency fund. I'm like, okay, I got it. I got
Yes.
it. Cause I'm all like stock market. I'm like, hey, well, this is a good time to get some,
Oh,
some low
yes.
stocks right now and everything like that. And And she's like, let's just be clear. I want to feel very comfortable with what we have in our savings account right now. Like, I got it. I got
Yeah, and that's something that as couples, I mean, we talk about this is having those conversations with your spouse
it.
because
Yeah.
we tend to marry not exactly our financial opposites, but definitely we have different strengths and also different worries. So for my husband, he's kind of the same way because
Yeah.
I don't want to say like, maybe we should just move this and
Right.
invest. I like,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you, but having these conversations about that. But then also prioritizing some concerns people have is should I take money out
Mm.
of the stock market and maybe put that money in the savings or they're worried about that. I saw some advice from Paula Pant. It
Mhm.
cracked me up and it was true. It was saying, your 401k, treat it like the advice they're giving you about your face. Don't touch
Yeah.
it. Get your
Right.
hands off of it.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Don't touch your 401k. Don't touch your face. Right. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yes.
one of those things where, there's, if you touch it, there's
Mhm.
lots of penalties, as well as
Yes.
this is the potentially the low point. Right. I mean, so
Hmm.
if we weren't touching it in January when it was at the high point, then, the best thing you can do right now,
Yeah.
because nobody knows and we're not
Mhm.
financial advisors either, is just to keep according to your plan. If you had a
Yeah.
plan with your financial advisor, if you had a plan personally, just stick with that plan and continue on it, because this is the time where you get those lower opportunities to buy shares. But that being said, if you don't have your emergency fund in a good spot, investing right now is the lowest in the priority. So you got to think about what's right for your family, but the emergency fund is the major number one thing that I think everybody should be thinking about right now.
Absolutely. And it really does depend on your situation. If you're a two income household, you may feel like having the 3 months is kind of enough for you. But if you do feel uncomfortable, let your spouse know, like, I'd rather go more
Yeah,
conservative on this. I don't think that's a bad thing in this case,
yeah,
just to be on the safe side because things are always going to be fluid. But I do want to point out too, if you feel uncomfortable, you're feeling like I still want to touch my accounts, I want to mess with it. Talk to your local bank or credit union and see if they have a fee only or fiduciary financial planner if you want some peace of mind. And this is someone that is going to put your interests first, the fiduciary part. That's what makes it important. And I've also seen New York Times is gathering, and I will put the link when I find it, of organizations of financial planners that are giving either free advice or very low cost advice. So if you're at a point where maybe retirement is coming up and you're seeing your portfolio look low or you're stressing out about next steps, I will find that resource as soon as it's up and put it in Thriving Families. But again, don't mess with anything with your investments. Now is not the time to start, pulling money out of the market. Timing the market's just not a winning situation, especially now.
I completely agree. Yeah, and do what's best for your family right now. Stay
Hmm.
safe. Sounds like the advice that we're getting is to stay home and try to figure out a way to make a new normal for your family and take advantage of it too. This could be a good
Yeah.
opportunity to make some bonding moments that you wouldn't normally have.
Yes, I know we are getting a little creative with finding projects to do with the kids. We're doing some gardening, some cooking, learning some things. But guys, if you can, set aside even half an hour, every day, make the phone calls, check to see what
Yeah.
kind of benefits or kind of hardship reliefs you can get with your lenders. Also, talk with your state. You might have some benefits through your state that are unique, whether it's unemployment benefits or even talk to your employer. I know that's probably going to be a busy line, but leave a message so they can get back to you and take advantage of any program that you qualify for and use that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then finally, I know this sounds crazy because we live in the age of up to date information, but don't panic. And if you feel like you're stressing out, take a step back from the screen.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also do your best to find credible sources for your
Yes.
information too. There's, during times like this, there's a great opportunity for people to spread misinformation
Hmm.
and maybe make the panic a little worse. So go with those trusted news sources and people that you've always trusted, and make sure that you're sticking with that, because sometimes other things can come through and make you more nervous than you need to be.
Exactly. So, guys, this is just a quick chat. Thank you again, Kelly, for sending in that question. I think so many people are in the same boat and asking, but stick with your plan, focus on the fundamentals. And if you ever have any questions, please, the community, Thriving Families, we're there to support one another with money plus more. Leave a question in this thread. I'm going to upload this along with the resources. I'll put it in the comment section. That way you can check and reach out to your lenders and providers.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Elle, for setting this up. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Take care, Andy.